Welcome back to the Man2Man podcast, episode 11. I'm your host, Jackson Chapman, alongside my co-host,
Carson Chapman.
Carson, go ahead and introduce the special guest for today's episode.
Today we have a very special guest, one of my best friends in the entire world, soon-to-be husband to Miss Chloe Stone. We've got Brennan McCullough joining the Man2Man podcast today. Welcome to the show, Brennan.
What's going on, guys? Excited to be here.
So, Carson and Brennan are big Alabama football fans. And, I work at the movie theater on Saturday afternoons and sometimes Saturday nights, so I don't get to watch much college football. So for this first segment, we're talking about the college football playoff, and I'll basically let you guys do all the talking.
We want your thoughts, too,
I'll
Jack.
provide who I think is going to win each matchup and who I think is going to win the national championship. But for the most part, it's going to be these two guys being just upset about Bama not getting in. So Carson and Brendan, one of y'all can go ahead and start about Bama, and then the other one can talk about who you think should have got in, who shouldn't have got in.
All right, so we're filming this on Sunday, and today we had the college football playoff, the final rankings released. We had number 1, Georgia. We have 2, Michigan. Number 3, TCU. And number 4, Ohio State. All right, so heading into this weekend, Brendan and I had gone back and forth over what we thought Alabama's chances might be to sneak into that 4th spot. And if you remember, Brendan, at the Iron Bowl that you were able to attend, they put up a little TV graphic, and there were about 5 different things that had to happen for Alabama to have a chance at the college football playoff.
Right.
All 5 things in a matter of 2 weeks came true.
Right.
They had to win the Iron Bowl convincingly.
Right.
They had to have an LSU loss. Mm-hmm. They had to have a Tennessee loss.
Yes.
They had to have a Clemson loss. And then you had a TCU fall apart and a USC fall apart. So all of those things come true, and yet we're still not in the playoff, Brendan. What did you see?
So here's the thing, Carson. In us as Alabama fans, this is what we're not used to, right? We're essentially
Unfamiliar territory.
We're essentially begging. All right, go ahead, Jack.
I'm going to stop right here. These two are spoiled rotten. Every single year, Alabama is elite. And the one year they don't make the college football playoff, these two are crying about how we don't make it. I'm an Oklahoma City Thunder fan. I don't want to hear about, we didn't make the top 4. I'm glad if we win 20 games a year now as OKC. So, just wanted to call y'all spoiled rotten, but you have a point. Keep going.
No, I mean we have 100% been spoiled since Louisiana Monroe in 2007. I was lucky enough to attend that game as well. But yes, we're in unfamiliar territory, having to beg for other teams to lose. I feel almost like an Auburn fan, just begging, or Tennessee maybe, just living life and getting my joy off of other teams' failures.
Right.
But I think all that being said, as much as it hurts my heart to say, I think the committee got it right. I think the top 4 are the right top 4.
I think so too. I had this discussion today at church. What it came down to, Brendan, was a resume versus what team did you think was gonna win or post the best game.
Right.
I think if you were to poll a random audience or even like college football enthusiasts, what would they tell you about Georgia's biggest competition? Would it be Alabama or would it be any of the other 3 teams in the college football playoff? Mm-hmm. I think you could make an argument that Bama would give them the best game.
Yeah.
But what we came to after a 13-week season is that Alabama didn't have a good enough resume. And I think that's what ended up happening here. And so I see where the committee was at. They've never put a 2-loss team in the college football playoff. And I've been telling Brendan for the last month that if there was ever going to be a team that was going to get in with 2 losses, it was going to be an Alabama team. It was going to be a Nick Saban-led Alabama team that has all the pedigree in the world. So going into this last weekend, we were hoping for a USC loss. We were hoping for a TCU loss. Both those things happened. Right. What do you think the deciding factor was when the committee decided to leave TCU and to bump Ohio State up?
Right. I think we really needed, even you mentioned the 5 things. I think we needed a number of things beyond that. I think Georgia essentially blowing out LSU. I think if that could have been a closer game, it makes that loss at LSU make a little bit
more reasonable.
I think you really needed Michigan. If Michigan blows out Purdue a little more, Purdue had chances in that game. Really, just if they could convert in the red zone, had to settle for a few field goals there. If they convert in the red zone, that's a different ball game. That's a close game. It makes Ohio State look worse in that Michigan loss. And I think in all actuality, it comes down, you put the analytics and the statistics aside, and you kind of look at the eye test. And I like game control and who controlled the game
this was
throughout
huge
the
for
year.
you.
And I think, Ohio State, they had closer games. Northwestern was a close game, which there were some insane, some weather issues there.
Didn't they just barely beat Maryland the week before they beat Michigan?
Exactly. And then that's part of it. I heard an interview today with Kirby Smart, and they asked him, would you rather be, have those close games or they asked him if those games are beneficial, and he said, I would rather just play well. And there's
regardless of scoreboard,
absolutely,
it goes beyond the scoreboard. Is what you're saying,
and that goes both ways. But I think you look at the eye test, you look at Alabama from start to finish and what they did. Obviously, a lot of people talk about their best win being at Texas with Quinn Ewers out. It's hard to say that they had a good enough resume, but for me, even to say they passed the eye test, I mean the way they controlled the games and that kind of thing. I mean they had to fight to be. A&M came close. Again, Texas.
Ole Miss held on.
Ole Miss. And just the dominance you usually see out of Bama. You turn on Georgia right now, and I feel like I'm watching Alabama. You know what I mean? Kirby Smart.
It's what Bama used to feel like.
Absolutely. And it's not the same right now. Not to say we won't be back there in a few years or here in a few months, but this year's team just wasn't the same.
I think one of my favorite things, Brendan, was last night when you have all these other championship games going on and Alabama's not playing in it for first time in what feels like forever. Alabama's not a part of championship weekend where all these teams had an extra opportunity to lose. Alabama's sitting at home, not able to control their own destiny, which, like we discussed earlier, is not a part of what we're used to as Alabama fans. But they brought Nick Saban on last night, and they asked him how he feels about his team, what are his thoughts on the playoffs, and of course, as only Saban can do, he says, let's just make sure the 4 best teams get in.
Absolutely.
And Saban goes on to say that if Alabama were to face any of those teams outside of Georgia, they'd probably be favored. Mm-hmm. And I don't know how the odds makers would see it. I think that Georgia game would be maybe a field goal difference in favor of Georgia if you're just looking at those betting lines. So it was funny for me to see Saban go that route and talk about point spreads when it comes to what his team is viewed as.
Right. Yeah, it's funny you mentioned that. I had a stomach virus yesterday. And so I texted a buddy. I told him, I turned on the SEC championship. My brain saw Alabama wasn't playing and instantly started vomiting because I just didn't know how to react to that. But Saban kind of got trashed for his argument last night, which is funny enough in the middle of the Big Ten championship, which I loved.
Right. Statement steals the show regardless.
Absolutely. Hey, who's your daddy, right? I think he had a valid argument. I think Bama would be favored against all those teams. But also, I heard Clay Travis was all over Twitter today talking about, y'all are favored against Tennessee and LSU double digits as well. And
he was arguing that Tennessee stuff all week over Alabama.
Absolutely.
Does he realize that Hendon Hooker got hurt?
Hendon Hooker's hurt, and South Carolina.
Yeah, you got embarrassed by South Carolina. You don't have any argument anymore.
Have fun in the who's your daddy? Who's the favorite South Carolina son? Right, it's Clemson versus Tennessee in the Orange Bowl now.
That's right.
So he's in Tennessee.
So a little bit of a different year. We'll be going to a different bowl game. I'm a guess it might be the Sugar Bowl or whatever that next best.
Sugar Bowl versus Kansas State actually.
Okay, yeah.
I don't think
I like our chances in that one.
I do. We haven't looked at. I don't think the lines are out yet. I know they're out for the playoff, but it'll be interesting to see.
I'm going to see Bryce and Will going to play?
We'll see. It'll be iffy. I know a handful of guys are already in the portal. I just in the last, we're recording Sunday, in the last couple hours, Javion Cohen is in the portal now.
Burton already this week.
I didn't know about Burton.
No, not Burton. Holden.
Yeah, Trayshawn Holden, which I think is one that personally I won't miss. But it is what it is, and I think if 10-2 is a rebuilding year, then we'll
I think we're doing just right. All right, Jack. That is our Alabama spiel. We defended our points. We defended our guys. Now, what do we think is going to happen in the Final Four? You've got the Georgia versus Ohio State matchup, and then the 2 versus 3 is Michigan versus TCU.
So I hopefully will be able to watch these because I do enjoy watching college football playoff. Is this on New Year's?
New Year's Eve.
New Year's Eve. I think a Michigan TCU game. TCU coming off a loss to Kansas State, which Kansas State's a good team. But Michigan just dominating Ohio State. I don't really see that being a close game.
No Blake Corum. No Blake Corum officially yet.
I definitely see. I did see where Michigan's backup quarterback is already in the transfer portal or something.
Yes,
Already
he's
committed.
to Iowa.
Oh,
Yes.
okay. Well, there you go. So I'm gonna take Michigan there, and then Georgia Ohio State. It's gonna be a really really fun game. I feel like that's gonna be one of those college football games that's like, well, Georgia's defense is actually insane. I was gonna say like a 50,
Like a shootout.
shootout, but Georgia's defense is that good. I'm gonna take Georgia in that, and then a Michigan Georgia championship game. Georgia's just too elite right now. You got 82-year-old Stetson Bennett still slinging the ball, his 18th year in college. I hope you'll be able to throw a lot of touchdowns. So I'm going to go Georgia, as I know it's a little chalk to pick the 1-2 to go to the championship game, but it's whatever. Those are the two best teams. I'm going Georgia, winning it all.
Very good analysis there, Jack, for somebody that has tuned into, what would you say, maybe 2 or 3 quarters worth of college football this year?
Probably one full game worth.
It was Alabama Ole Miss, right?
I did get to watch all of Alabama Ole Miss because my boss sent me home because I was sick with the flu, but I was scheduled to go into work, but then they said, no, go home, you're sick.
Full game.
So they said, go home, so I watched all of Alabama, and that's about it for college football.
That's about it. So, yeah, Georgia, probably not the same defense as far as last year goes. I mean, last year was another level. I think they had, was it 9 guys drafted?
It was something ridiculous.
Yeah, one of the greatest defenses we've ever seen, and they follow it up with another dominant year this year. They step up in the big games. They absolutely take their play to a different level. And now they've got these skill guys. You've got Brock Bowers. What's 84's name?
T.J. McConkey.
Yeah.
McConkey, I can't remember.
Yeah, he's a skinny white dude that is an absolute burner.
It actually missed, I think. I can't remember. He came out in the first or second quarter yesterday.
Yeah.
But yeah.
So he's a matchup problem. And then Stetson Bennett, I so much just wanted to throw him under the bus last year, and when he was heading to the national championship, I was like, we've got to make this guy beat us. Mm-hmm. And I refused to believe that he was capable of winning a national championship and leading a solid team until I saw it in front of my own eyes last year in the national championship game. So Stetson Bennett has proven me wrong. He continues to do his thing. They're going to roll Ohio State simply because they will not be able to match up front with them. We saw Michigan just absolutely dominate the line of scrimmage, rush for over 200 yards against Ohio State just a couple weeks ago. I think Georgia's going to have a similar game plan. And then as far as Michigan TCU goes, I think Michigan got all the big boys up front. I mean, they've got a playmaker at the quarterback position and going to continue to roll there. So they will face off. I've got a 1 versus 2. I've got Georgia, Michigan facing off in the championship. And what I saw on Twitter was, who cares what 3 and 4 were going to end up, because everybody agrees that Georgia, Michigan are the 2 best teams. So you would have had this in the old BCS standings. You didn't even need a 14 playoff, let alone a 12. Yeah. Let alone a 12. Let's get the 2 best teams in it. This year it's Georgia, Michigan, and Georgia's going to do it again. They're going to go back-to-back. Stetson Bennett is going to make a lot of money being a car salesman in Georgia for the rest of his life because he had back-to-back national championships.
Yeah. On the Stetson Bennett point, couldn't agree more. A year ago, I thought, man, this
he's a fraud.
5'7", the mailman, literally. What I could run that offense with that defense and the playmakers around him. But man, watching him this year, he's made play after play. It's been unbelievable to watch. Also, I think he should get some more Heisman talk. He's kind of been.
I don't understand why he's not in the conversation.
That one's a little surprising to me. But another guy we haven't talked about yet is Max Duggan, quarterback TCU.
He's a Heisman dark horse.
I don't know if y'all saw his press conference after.
Okay, that made me a believer.
Hey, usually hey man, grow up. But man, that joker cared. And even throughout that game, you can see I was taking hit after hit after hit.
That's a good call.
Just kept toting the ball, man, and making play after play for TCU. And they've been big in big games all year.
Is Caleb Williams the front runner for Heisman?
Man.
Again,
after 2 losses.
Again, I have not watched a lot of college football, but apparently I see on Twitter where he's him.
Right. I haven't looked at. I don't know if you've checked the Heisman.
I haven't checked the odds or anything like that. I know Caleb Williams was the favorite heading into this week. I don't know if C.J. Stroud gets a bump up because Caleb Williams lost this week. I don't know. I don't know how that's going to play out, but I'm going to go out on a limb and say Caleb Williams is still going to take it home.
The Heisman's going to be incredibly interesting. I think Friday against Utah hurt Caleb Williams very badly. You think about Heisman, the prestige, the integrity that comes with it, and the way he handled himself in that game, kind of moping around.
Yeah.
Not what you typically see from a Heisman. Someone, I don't have a Heisman vote. I'm just a 23-year-old college student. But I would have
Soon
a
to
hard
be
time.
graduate.
Yes.
Soon to be college graduate.
I would have a hard time putting him at the top of my Heisman ballot.
But Max Duggan made an improvement on
Max Duggan, man, all year. TCU's been huge. They talk about them in close games. And they find ways to win. And I think they're like a 9.5 point underdog. And so, man, I think it's going to be closer than the experts think. That being said, Michigan, like you said, they dominate Ohio State up front. It'll be closer than the experts think, like I said. But when it comes down to it, I think Michigan will get it done. J.J. McCarthy's made plays all year as well.
I could not remember his name when I was talking. I said their quarterback's a playmaker. He made some impressive throws against Ohio State. So, yeah, I'm a believer in McCarthy as well.
I think, and he's got some pieces around him, too, that Duggan may not have. But, man, I think Max Duggan's made a name for himself, probably made some money this year as well. So in that one, I'll have to go with Michigan, but closer than the experts think, I will say.
So you got a 1-2 matchup as well?
Yeah, and then Georgia and Ohio State. Now, I've got some Ohio State friends. I'm on the baseball team here at Murray State. Some of these guys are talking trash. One of them.
We got any bets going around the locker room?
One of them today told me, it feels like 2014. To that, I wanted to slap him in the face. They beat Alabama.
Not the same team.
2014, and that's what I said. I said, I don't know if you've seen Georgia, but those are men. Okay, I said you played Michigan, got blown out. Those were teenagers. All right, these are men. So I think that'll also be a great game, 1v2. But man, Georgia all around up front. Their secondary. Everyone's talking about the speed. I can't remember number 5. I can't remember his name at the moment. Just looks like he could play fullback in the NFL, and he plays corner. Just unbelievable athletes all over the field. I just don't see anyone playing with them this year.
Yep.
All around, they are the best team in college football.
So there you have it. There's the college football segment from Carson and Brennan, basically. So now let's get to some football that I get to watch, and that's NFL. And
the league.
We're running down at the end of the year, getting close to the playoffs. And I want everybody here to give our front runner for NFL MVP. At the end of the year, me and Carson talked about we'll do a show where we just give
we can give away some awards.
But MVP, I think front runner is I know he lost today, but I think it's so clearly Patrick Mahomes. The man his team's 9-3. He lost a gigantic weapon in Tyreek Hill and is still produced nonstop. And the man I still think is the number 1 quarterback in fantasy, which I know. The NFLPA.
They don't necessarily look at that, but it matters to us.
It matters to us. I'm sure the voters.
3 big fantasy heads here.
I'm sure they don't care about fantasy, but he puts up fantasy points. He wins ball games. And when Mahomes is on an offensive drive, I don't know if you guys feel this way, but I'm thinking, okay, he's throwing a touchdown this drive.
Yeah.
And I don't feel like there's a drive where Mahomes looks
He always
bad.
feels in control, doesn't he?
He feels in control. He is very consistent. Don't know how many picks he has on the year, but I really don't feel like he throws picks that often. Makes the right decision.
I think he's on pace for another 5,000-yard season. Casually.
He also has a sneaky amount of rushing touchdown this year.
He does.
And so that team's been
He's a
great.
good
I
athlete.
think those are Super Bowl favorites, so I'm going Patty Mahomes as my MVP front runner.
Go ahead, Brennan.
All right, funny enough, I just put up the odds, and we're all shooing Georgia wins the Natty. Patrick Mahomes is currently the same exact odds as Georgia.
Wow.
Wow.
So interesting enough there.
Hard to argue against that right there.
Exactly.
Pretty good point.
And then we were watching the Bengals Chiefs today, and you're sitting there.
Oh, that was a fun game, wasn't it?
Yeah, absolutely. We're sitting there, the Bengals have the ball, and kind of they're on the fringe there, field goal, convert the first, they extend the game, what have you. And I look at the guy I'm watching the game with, and I said, hey, if the Chiefs get the ball back, they're going to score. And exactly to your point, Jackson, you feel like every time he has the ball, he's going to score. Joe Burrow did his thing, was able to keep Patrick Mahomes off the field, and the Bengals pull out the W. But exactly that, he has the ball. You're like, man, this guy's getting it done. And then you look at the other guys around the league. Behind him, Jalen Hurts, Tua.
I wonder if we were going to bring up the Bama quarterback.
Yeah,
what a QB room.
That was neat there for a while, but I don't think. There's
nobody tougher on Tua than you are. I love Tua, and I will defend him, but Brennan will attack him at the most inopportunistic times.
So it's funny you bring that up because I was turning the corner. I was actually starting to enjoy.
Starting to be a
watching
believer?
Tua. He's making some plays. He obviously has Tyreek Hill now, Jalen Waddle.
And then the day happened.
Some guys around him, and man, he just wet the bed today, man. We've got the third string quarterback for the 49ers in for 3 quarters. And
Mr. Irrelevant.
Yeah, I mean, I don't remember his name. What was the guy's name?
Brock Purdy?
Brock Purdy, Iowa State. But yeah, I mean, I didn't get it done today, man. And in my opinion, that greatly hurt his MVP odds. But then again, to your point, Jackson, having someone like Patrick Mahomes, I mean, he's a clear-cut favorite in my opinion right now.
I'm glad y'all talked about Mahomes because I think it's clear how I feel about him. I said I would start my franchise with him a couple weeks ago. He's just the most dynamic playmaker in the league. I know there's lots of people that defend Josh Allen out there, but if I'm giving my ball with 2 minutes to go and I've got to have a score, I'm going with Mahomes because he has this Brady factor to him in the sense that he's never out of it.
Careful.
I'm not saying that he's Brady. I'm saying he has that Brady ability, that Brady factor, in the sense that
that Josh Allen doesn't have.
I just always feel like he's going to score.
In close games, what's Josh Allen in the last 2 years?
I mean,
Josh
I don't
Allen's
have the
3
numbers
and
in front of
10
me.
or something like that, or might be 3 and 9, something like that. But I agree with you. I feel like Mahomes has that.
I feel more
special
confident.
ingredient in his DNA to say, "Hey, we need a game-winning drive. Give me the ball."
Right, and so that about Mahomes, but then also I think we would all agree he's an exponentially better athlete than Tom Brady, and so maybe not the same between the ears as Brady. Although I would argue Mahomes is better than people give him credit for as far as his intelligence and how he reads the defense
If you
goes.
listen to his new the New Heights podcast, that's the Jason and Travis Kelce
Oh, he's
podcast.
unbelievable.
Patty Mahomes is on there. The IQ that man has for football is just out of this world. And Andy Reid saw it in the draft room. Shout out New Heights. I know you probably will never hear this podcast, but I listen to your podcast all the time. And
Hey, that's how we get better as a podcast, right,
Yeah,
Jack? We take notes from the best.
Oh, I am a big podcast listener. I listen to 2 NBA podcasts. I listen to a fantasy football podcast, and I now listen to the New Heights podcast. So 4 different podcasts that I kind of rotate between.
So again, I haven't given my pick yet.
Oh, go ahead. Sorry.
I haven't given my pick yet. I think Mahomes is the leader in the clubhouse right now. But I'm going to throw Jalen Hurts out there. Best record in the league, the 10-1 Eagles. Not only doing it through his ground attack, but he's also becoming a proven pocket passer now.
4 touchdowns today.
Yeah, and so he's just an absolute dog out there. I don't mean to be cliche, but that's how I would describe him. He's the alpha male of that locker room and leads so well. Then also I'm going to throw a little love Joe Burrow's way after the 0-2 start.
Yeah.
I think watch out. I'm gonna go out on a limb. Hot take. Joe Burrow finishes the season undefeated. They went out the rest of the way in the regular season, and enough right things happen. He's your MVP.
So, real quick, you don't even have to explain it. Let's give a non-QB MVP. And I got a very unconventional one. Actually plays on the same team as Patrick Mahomes. Travis Kelce has been unreal this year. Man is leading the league in tight end touchdowns. Set a career high in touchdowns this year. Career high in yards. Career high in basically every category for Travis Kelce. And when you think of the most dominant tight ends in the game, Mark Andrews, George Kittle, Kyle Pitts, or whatever, Travis Kelce is on that next level that the other guys are not even close to, I think. So I am going Travis Kelce with my non-QB MVP.
I like this, Jack. A little off the cuff here. I will go ahead and take Tyreek Hill. On pace to just shatter all these receiving records as far as receptions, yards go. I think he's on pace for almost 2,000 yards. It's an unbelievable clip that he's on. He has unlocked Tua. I think Mike McDaniels has done an amazing job with Tua, but Tyreek Hill, that playmaking ability and the pressure that he puts on a defense. And so 2 former Chiefs there. Yeah. Well, you've got a current Chief in Travis Kelce, and then Tyreek Hill doing what he's doing in Miami. So Tyreek Hill will be my pick as a dark horse, non-QB MVP candidate.
Yeah, those are 2 solid ones for sure. I'm going to kind of go off a limb here. I'm going to go Christian McCaffrey. I don't know if we thought about that one, but now in the 49ers offense, I don't remember the number, but they played the Dolphins today. Mm-hmm. He had an insane amount of touches. I mean, basically, they had their third string quarterback in there, and it was basically every play just get McCaffrey the ball somehow, let him make a play.
Get your best playmakers the ball in space.
Even with Debo in that offense, with Debo an unbelievable playmaker as well, McCaffrey was their go-to over and over and over again. And so with him getting those touches, I think the 49ers are going to keep winning. Unbelievable defense there too. That could help him. If we're going non-quarterback, I'd go McCaffrey.
There we go.
It's a good pick there. So now we're nearing the Christmas season. School's almost over. I've got 3 finals this week that I don't
For all the important women in our life, I'm sure they can press play now and tune in to the last 5-10 minutes of this podcast.
Brendan, I'm sure you have finals this week. I got finals this week. I'm so ready for it to be over.
It's wedding week. It's wedding week for Brendan.
It is also your wedding. Congratulations there. I'm ready for school to be over so we can get to Christmas break. And Christmas break, you don't really have Christmas break unless you have Christmas movies. And so we're not doing a turning time Christmas movies. We're doing starting 5 of Christmas movies. So if you have never listened to the Man2Man podcast, starting 5 is all of us will go and do like a mini draft of a certain topic. And this week we're going Christmas movies. And it's obviously, as our special guest, Brennan, you have the
I was going to say,
pick.
he needs the honors
So
here.
go ahead and give him the mic. First pick in the Christmas movie draft.
First pick for me, and I'll explain this to Jackson and Carson before we started. For me, this was more sometimes just sentimental value and kind of what I valued in movies. So I might have some weird picks here. So here we go. But number 1 for me, Christmas Vacation. National Lampoons, Chevy Chase, Clark Griswold, Cousin Eddie. You can't beat it. I don't even know if you haven't watched.
How many people dress up as Cousin Eddie for Christmas?
I mean, who knows?
Shout out to Christian Hopkins. I work at the movie theater with him. He can quote the full Clark Griswold rant.
Yeah. Oh yeah.
And word for word, mannerisms and everything. He can do the word for word rant when the family's at Clark's house and they're just annoying the crap out of him, and he's just blurting out every explicitive that you can think of.
Hallelujah, where's the Tylenol?
Exactly.
Yeah.
And so, shout out Christian Hopkins. If you're listening, I'd love to hear you do the rant. He does it every year around Christmas time. So, that's a good pick right there.
Yeah.
Carr, go ahead with your pick.
So, like Brendan said, we're not basing this off of movie quality per se. We're not going Rotten Tomatoes here. What is the best rated? These are a lot of sentimental picks, maybe movies that we grew up with, and one sticks out in my mind, Home Alone 2. Because you have Home Alone 1, which obviously set the stage, great movie, but Home Alone 2,
Lost in New York.
Very rarely do you have a second movie or a sequel that ends up outperforming the first one.
It is very rare.
And to me, what set it apart is just the whole dynamic of what is his name? Kevin. Yeah.
You got the family losing him
Again.
How,
And he's in the biggest city in the United States, that or California. I can't even remember. New York,
New York, the pigeon lady. The pigeon lady.
Well, that's what I was going to bring in. You have Kevin's relationship with the toy guy, who ends up like giving him those turtle doves, I believe, and then Kevin ends up giving one of the turtle doves to the lady in the park who basically helped him to keep him from getting shot in the park. So Kevin, I love you.
And the villains Marv and
Harry.
No longer the wet bandits. We're the sticky bandits.
So great movie there. Good pick there, Carson. So snake draft, I'm going back to that. And you don't have Christmas unless someone steals it. And you gotta have the Grinch who
Jim
stole
Carrey?
Christmas. Oh, of course, the
Jim
live
Carrey version.
So many quotable lines from that movie. Jim Carrey, I think, low-key is one of his best performances ever. You gotta think about it. He was in that facial makeup all day, in that suit all day, had to do a totally different voice.
Yeah, I heard it took him like 6 hours to do that.
I'm
each
sure.
day for filming.
Each day.
And then
So,
they had contacts. All
shout
kinds
out
of
to
stuff,
Jim Carrey. The man did a phenomenal job as the Grinch. I love watching that movie. It's so funny just hearing him just complain about everything wrong in his life, how much he hates Christmas, and it's got such a good story of he has no heart, and then he ends up he does have a heartbeat. So I like the Grinch. The cartoon version is also very good, but I'm gonna go with the live version with Jim Carrey, and then back-to-back picks for me. You gotta go Polar Express. Let's think about.
That's a reach. I'm double thumbs down on Polar Express.
How was that a reach? Think about Christmas when you're.
Yes, when you're in kindergarten, it was a great pick.
It's a nostalgia pick. That's why
Okay.
It's a nostalgia pick. Think about you're in kindergarten or first grade or whatever, and your teacher brings you all these little snacks and goodies. It's the last day before Christmas break. She brings in the TV cart, and you're watching Polar Express. Mm-hmm. It's a nostalgia factor.
There's not a more silent movie than in the
I'm
Polar
not
Express.
saying it's one of my favorites, but in terms of Christmas movies, you have
That's
to
what you think of.
Yes, you have to have it up there on the list.
The nostalgia factor is definitely there. I'll
Yes.
give you the TV
Yes.
rolling in.
When I was in kindergarten, there's no telling how many times I saw that. They played it. They played it at school all the time.
So
Pajama Day.
to say it's a reach,
Yes.
say it's a reach. That's a little far because when you think of
I
Christmas,
know. I gotta humble you.
you got to think of the Polar Express plus the nostalgia factor. So I'm going Polar Express too.
Well, Jackson reaching for Polar Express just gave me the opportunity to take Elf in the second round.
Unpopular opinion: Elf sucks.
Whoa!
I am on the train that movie. I love Will Ferrell. He is funny in almost every movie that he's in. He is nowhere near funny in the Elf. I do not like Elf. Anytime it's on, I am on my phone and not paying attention. I'm sure it's a great movie for everybody else. Unpopular opinion, like you guys thought that was a reach. I didn't even have Elf on my list. I don't like it that much.
Wow. Well, I appreciate your opinion. Appreciate your input. You're wrong, but yeah, I'm gonna stick with Elf here in the second round. I love all kinds of Will Ferrell movies, and to see him dressed up as a man in an elf costume and literally have no social cues because he grew up in the North Pole, and then he sees Santa at a mall, and he's I know him, and then like talks about his diet, and who am I to make fun of somebody's diet because nobody has a less balanced diet than I do. But this man lived on the main food groups of candy canes, candy corn, and syrup.
Right.
And so, give me Elf.
So you got back-to-back picks here, Brandon. So go ahead.
Jackson, I hate to bust your bubble, and I'll get Carson back here in a second, but I'm also going Elf here. Just like Carson said, how can you beat it?
Okay, so I know you're new here on the Man2Man podcast. We don't do repeat movies. That's why you got to come prepared with a list that's pretty deep.
So we're good.
Elf is off the list.
All
You
right.
got some more off the cuff?
We're good. Yeah, no, we're good. Okay, so this one you might not even seen. 4 Christmases. Vince Vaughn.
That's on my list.
Reese Witherspoon. A great movie, 2008, PG-13 for younger viewers.
I wonder what demographic. What is our demographic for the Man2Man podcast? So what is the lowest age group that we get to?
So I do the podcast analytics every week. I don't see that age, but I will say we have 10 listeners in Atlanta. Consistently every week we have 10 listeners in Atlanta. So shout out
Word
to them.
spreads.
I don't know what it is, but you can see city demographics. You can see how many listeners you have per week. And for some reason, Atlanta's up there with Bury for the Man2Man podcast. So shout out to Atlanta, Georgia.
Don't make me a Braves fan.
Yeah. Hey, I'll get you.
There's room?
Yeah, absolutely. Always room. But yeah, 4 Christmases, Vince Vaughn, great
Good
movie. Just from Vince Vaughn doing a terrible nativity scene to, everything on the movie is great. Another quotable movie that I thoroughly enjoy. And then Snake Draft, right?
You got it.
All right, so kind of coming back to your Home Alone pick, Home Alone 2. So I went Home Alone 1 because
That's where I was going with my next pick if you didn't take it.
Well, so I actually think Home Alone 2 is it's lazy, okay, just to be frank here, because we're essentially writing the first one over, all right? Which I'll give you credit. It's harder to make the
Dude,
second
it was in a
movie
different
better,
city.
but it's the same plot line, all right? It's the same exact
It was
thing.
it was a better escape plan for Marv and Harry in the second one.
It's the same plot line.
He used different tools. Him rolling out the escape plan is just.
How about 8 years old in a city that he had never been to before, and he's finding ways to just absolutely take out some criminals?
How about these 2 parents lose their child twice?
Yeah,
How about that?
that's a real problem.
How about that?
If you're new parents, do not watch Home Alone.
But yeah, I go Home Alone there for the simple fact I think the second one I would say it's right there as far as comedy goes. It's just as funny, but in my mind the writing was a bit lazy.
That's
those
fair.
are my 2.
All right, so my third round pick, I'm gonna go with. You talked about 4 Christmases and the family dynamics there. I'm gonna go Christmas with the Cranks, where you've got some family drama. I think that can happen for some different families. You're meshing everybody together in the holiday season. Everybody kind of has their different traditions, and it's just an absolute train wreck and provides some good comedy there. So Christmas with the Cranks is my third round pick.
I'm back to back here. My third pick is also another kid classic, Alvin and the Chipmunks.
I thought about that. Is that a Christmas?
It's a Christmas
they
movie.
sing Christmas songs.
Okay,
throughout the movie,
it
I'm
crossed
not-
my mind.
That's the number 1 song actually. It's a Christmas.
Yes, I can't even do the voice,
Right.
but
Please don't.
Christmas Time is here from Alvin and the Chipmunks. Classic movie. I bet if I watched that today, I'd still laugh because it's the Alvin and Chipmunks,
Another nostalgia pick. I'd say.
Another nostalgia pick. I'm a big nostalgia guy. And then my fourth pick is Chronicles of Narnia. That is another Christmas movie that's up there, and just such a good plot line. You have just, I forgot the girl's name, but she walks into that closet, sees a whole nother dimension, and just such a great movie with, there's a Christian writer who actually invented
C.S.
it.
Lewis.
C.S. Lewis, yes. It is a technical Christian movie, and so
A lot of parallels.
a lot of parallels to the coming of Christ, and it's a very good movie. I enjoyed watching it. Haven't watched it in a while. I actually watched it. Actually, never mind. I watched that Crossings this summer. So Chronicles of Narnia is my fourth pick.
Okay. I'm going to go with one that I've actually never watched before. And I know it has been a debate that has circled around for years around Christmas time. Is Die Hard a Christmas movie? And I think it's been...
Can you pick it if you haven't watched it?
I'm running low on picks here.
I don't think that's
I'm running low on picks here. So, because of the recommendations that I've heard from everybody else, if it quantifies as a Christmas movie, I'm going to take it. Don't know the plot, don't know what's going on in it. I'm going to take Die Hard, and my goal is to be able to watch it this Christmas season. How about that?
All right. Well, we're just going to say that pick is terrible. So the simple fact that you actually disjustified your own pick. But all right.
But it counts because everybody else says it's so good. So we're not evaluating the movie, or we're evaluating the movie, not me.
Right, okay, that's fair. That's fair. But your evaluation has to be faulty because you haven't seen it.
So last two picks here for you, Brandon.
All right, last two picks. So I'm going Fred Claus.
I forgot about that.
Family favorite. My family loves it. Another Vince Vaughn pick. My family also loves Vince Vaughn. Specifically my father. Big Vince Vaughn guy. But yeah, another one, you got kind of like a Scrooge figure. He acts just kind of like a butthole most of the movie, but ton of comedy, ton of typical Vince Vaughn ad-libbing and just sarcastic comedy, which I love. So Fred Claus, and then another traditional one, kind of sentimental value, Christmas Story. Little Ralphie, you'll shoot your eye out, all that good stuff. So yeah.
Yeah, I think every little kid growing up thought there might be a rifle coming their way or a BB gun coming their way come Christmas because of Ralphie. With my fifth round pick, like I said, scratching the bottom of the barrel on Christmas movies. As I was telling Jackson before this started, I didn't realize how unprepared I was for a Christmas movies discussion just because I simply haven't watched enough of them. Because I go back and watch, Christmas Vacation, Home Alone, and Elf all the time. But with my fifth round pick, I will take a new one to me. I watched Santa Claus for the first time last weekend with Emily and her family, so I will take Santa Claus. You've got Tim Allen, who is a businessman, kind of coming together with his son, and he wants his son to have this belief in Santa, and then he ends up into Santa himself, and they go and go on a little joyride with the reindeer and end up at the North Pole. So Santa Claus.
What's crazy is, a lot of these movies you only watch during Christmas time.
That's true.
And so they have no other value. I'm not watching Home Alone in June. It's just not happening. So it's so crazy that these movies are so high up in these rankings because we love watching them once a year.
Yeah.
And so that's another good pick.
Hey, that's what Christmas is all about.
That's what Christmas is all about. I'm actually going with a movie that's not on my list. Probably you've seen, because you guys were young boys at one time. The Drake and Josh Christmas movie.
Wow.
Great pick!
Kimbo
Slice?
Drake and Josh,
RIP.
mine and Carson's all-time favorite Nickelodeon
There's no
show.
doubt about it.
No doubt. And you combine that with a Christmas movie. First of all, getting a Drake and Josh movie was something that you love to see because you get more Drake and Josh. You get more comedy. You get more...
That 20-minute episode became a 45-minute episode.
So,
It's a big deal.
I loved watching the Drake and Josh, even though it's not technically a movie, it was like a 15-minute movie.
It was a special.
It was a
Snow
special.
in San Diego.
Snow in San Diego never happened. The Drake and Josh Christmas movie will always have a special
Great
place
pick, Jack.
in my heart because I just
Replace
love Drake and
that
Josh.
with...
What'd you say, Die Hard?
Replace that with...
Die Hard he's never seen.
What was your second round pick that I made?
Polar Express.
Polar
Carson,
Express.
You have to stop. Don't quit crapping on Polar
All
Express.
right, so I also, personally, not a Polar Express fan. I don't know why. I think it was because, your reason.
We got so
nostalgia,
burned out.
I saw it so many times now. I'm like, I don't care to watch it. I don't get the hype.
On a Christmas movie list, you have to.
But okay,
have
I'll say your nostalgia factor and the way you described it, I'll give you props. I think it was fair pick.
So there we
So
have it.
Jackson can defend his movies better than I can. That's what we established.
Carson, you defend a
When
movie you never
Jackson
saw.
had a reason for why he
I
liked
saw
it.
all 5 of my movies I have seen. You can't say a movie you haven't seen. That's just not allowed. It's like,
Hey, it's for the people.
That's like if we were doing a starting five on foods and you've never ate that food before. Come on now, Carter. Get your crap together. But that was a fun starting five here on the Man2Man podcast. Be sure to tune in. We might take, I was thinking about this, we might take a little Christmas break off ourselves and then come back once school starts back up. So let everybody enjoy their holiday season with their family. But I'll keep you updated. But thank you, Brendan, for being on the show.
Appreciate you joining us, Brendan.
All your
Appreciate you
insight,
guys.
all the comedy. Thank you for joining us. And we will catch you guys soon. I'm not going to say next week, but soon.
Love you guys.